Hey guys, it's Spish Shozzy here, and welcome back to episode 7 of my TCW series for Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. Now, today's episode, of course, is going to be the fallout of the pay-per-view, Malice in Wonderland. Of course, that was in the previous episode. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend going back and watching that. Obviously, it furthered a few storylines, put certain things into play. And obviously, there are a couple of storylines that are sort of going to be wrapped up as a result of the pay-per-view. But we'll get into today's show. We've got a pretty big main event, obviously falling out from what happened in the main event of Malice in Wonderland. So, yeah, it's sort of directly related. Anyway, we got a couple of pre-show matches, the first of which is a 72B-. Basically, the team of Joshua Taylor, Ricky Dale Johnson, and the New Wave, basically beating, I would say, a bit of a jobber four-man team, although Mark Speed was put on there just to get him into the ring, basically. Get him a bit of ring time. And we have Jeremy Courtney improving in Rumble skills. And basically, this next match, 77B on the pre-show, is essentially the reverse. So we've done another 8-man tag, this time with the big heel team going over the smaller face team, with Aaron Andrews, Brian Vesey, Eddie Peake, and Wolf Hawkins beating Bulldozer Brandon Smith, Dazzling Dave Diamond, Elliot Thomas, and Mr. Lucha 3. Any worker improvements? A couple. We've got Dazzling Dave Diamond in Rumble and Mr. Lucha in Rumble as well. So, yeah, good stuff from the pre-show. We'll kick things off with an angle, 55C-. Basically, Jay Court and Greg Gage announced they're forming a new tag team, and they're going to be calling themselves New Legacy. Of course, both of their fathers were good friends, I believe. Obviously, Ripcord and is it Sam Keith? And yeah, they're going to be joining themselves up. And hopefully, going one better than their fathers and becoming true champions around the world in terms of, their wrestling ability. And they're obviously dastardly heels as well, so they play that up with the cocky youth as well. We then go into a match with, obviously, the new tag team being debuted, essentially. Gets a 66C+. In about had decent wrestling but little heat. New Legacy defeated the Dynamite Express in 9:55 when Greg Gage defeated Cameron Jones by submission with a Proton Lock. And we have no worker improvements there. We then move into a 78B where Sammy Back talks about his unfortunate loss to Brian Vesey at Malice in Wonderland. And of course he goes on about the fact that Vesey... No one truly knows if Vesey was actually injured for the 3 weeks that he missed leading up to the pay-per-view. Essentially saying that he avoided competition in order to stay fresh for their match at the pay-per-view. And obviously, he cheated to win. Foot's on the rope for leverage, getting the 3 count, and basically stealing the victory, or a potential victory, away from Sammy Back. Not a bad little angle there as well. 78B. We then go into a match with Sammy Back, and he does defeat Freddie Huggins in 20 minutes 25 seconds by submission with a buck for your back. And he gets a 77B rated match, which is really good considering his in-ring performance was only a 70, and then Freddie Huggins was only a 66. So, yeah, some really good booking there, I think, by me. And I'm definitely happy with that match rating. Good to see a solid B there as well. We then go into a 68C+. We have Divine Fortune, of course, the new number 1 contenders for Killer Shark and Titans tag team titles. So we're going to pre-book that in for our next pay-per-view, which is the War to Settle the Score at the end of February. So we'll book that in. Tag team match, just a normal tag team match. And we'll have the champions, the Behemoths, taking on, where are they? Divine Fortune. Good stuff. I don't really think the Behemoths are ready yet. They're definitely not ready even to have, longer matches, longer than I think about 7 or 8 minutes. But we just have to, I don't know, we have to keep the tag team division chugging along. And whether we have to drop the titles from them, that's a possibility. I don't really want to do that. I want to keep them really dominant for the foreseeable future. But there is a way that I can keep them strong to an extent and take the titles off them, which I'm kind of leaning towards. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, we also have Titan developing better performance skills there as well, which is good to see on the angle. We then go into a 67C+ match. About that had decent wrestling but didn't have much heat. Divine Fortune defeated the Elite in 10:23 when Daryl Divine defeated Nate Johnson by pinfall with a Divine Dream drop. And apparently Nate Johnson is not suited to his gimmick. And of course the Elite have great chemistry when tag teaming together, so that's good for them. Moving on to a triple threat number 1 contender match for the international title. Gets another C+ as well, 68 C+ this time. And about that had decent wrestling but didn't have much heat. Matt Hocking defeated Kirk Jamison and Brent Hill in 10 minutes and 1 second when Matt Hocking defeated Kirk Jamison by pinfall with a Hock Shock. And then apparently Matt Hocking was actually the weak link, which is a little bit frustrating. But Matt Hocking is the new number 1 contender for the international title. So we'll get that booked in there as well. So Mark Speed will be taking on Matt Hocking for our mid-card title. Good stuff. Good to get things booked in early for the pay-per-view. Obviously the tag team match was already decided at our last pay-per-view. But good to get this one done in week 1 of February. We then move into a 74 B- Menace promo from the Behemoths. And they're actually starting to get some, half-decent ratings. I think their popularity for them has slightly risen. Not a lot, but I think 1 or 2 points for Killer Shark. And I'm not 100% sure on Titan. Hopefully they do make some progress, like I said earlier. We then go into their match, which doesn't do too badly considering it's the Behemoths. They get a 63C, probably carried a little bit. And about that had decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. The Behemoths defeat Bart Biggins and Flying Jimmy Fox in 7:22 when Killer Shark defeated Bart Biggins by pinfall with a big bite. And Bart Biggins was head and shoulders above everybody else in the ring. And obviously Killer Shark was the weak link. Apparently Killer Shark's getting better at his gimmick as well, which is good to see. We then go into a 97 A-star rated promo from the ace himself, Rocky Golden. And of course, he will be taking on Troy Tornado in the main event tonight on TV. Of course, Troy Tornado essentially costing him his world title. He cost him the world title rematch at Malice in Wonderland. As Troy came to the aid of Aaron Andrews. And the interference cost Rocky the title once again. Cost him the opportunity of regaining his title. But really solid A-star there. 97 for Rocky's promo. The match itself really doesn't do too well. I thought it was going to be better than this. A 75 B-. And about that had great heat and good wrestling. Rocky Golden defeated Troy Tornado in 2028 by pinfall with a Rocky Road. And Troy only getting a 62 in-ring performance there. Pretty low. We then have another promo which gets a 95 A-star. Another promo, this time coming from Aaron Andrews. And he's reiterating the fact that Rocky Golden has already had his rematch that he was owed in his rematch clause after losing the title in the Fatal 4-Way match to Aaron Andrews. And since he lost at Malice in Wonderland, Aaron Andrews believes it's time for a new challenger for his World Heavyweight title. And essentially there's going to be a Fatal 4-Way number 1 contender match next week, or in the next episode, but on the next week of television. And Rocky will not be a part of that Fatal 4-Way match. The overall... Oh, that's really bad. The overall show rating gets a 70 C+. Really not good, but again, it's to an extent... I am expecting to drop down to cult. I honestly expected it to happen after the first month, but we're still national at the moment. And as you can see, the show did increase our popularity in 7 regions, being Canada, and then of course lost us popularity in 11 regions, which is of course America. So yeah, we're going to drop down to cult. It's only a matter of time, which is fine, because once we go down to cult, we'll be spending less money on certain things, such as MISC, the old MISC that takes 1.5 million out of your bank account. Obviously, lower popularity also means lower attendances and stuff like that as well. So, yeah. Anyway, TCW, Total Wrestling TV, gets a 6.53 TV rating. And then we also have SWF changing their production values to Majestic, which is, I think, the highest it can go. And I'm pretty sure US Pro Wrestling did that earlier in the week as well. So that's probably the SWF changing. Yeah, catching up to USPW. Anyway, in terms of us doing that, we're not going to really focus on that. Like I said, we want to go back down to cult first, because we want to bring a lot of the newer members of the roster, as well as some of the younger guys we currently have, like Jay Cord, Aaron Andrews, Wolf Hawkins as well, of course. We want to bring them up to a bit of a better level, get them more over to the point where we're, consistently able to put on solid B+ shows, I would say. I want my pay-per-views to be at a minimum of a B+ every pay-per-view. That's just a personal preference going forward. It's going to take a little while, I think, to get to that level, but that is the goal for the short term. I would say the next 6 months, I want to be at that level, and I want to have certain guys starting to make their way into the main event. Guys like Jay Cord. I don't really know who else, but maybe Mighty Mo, because both of those guys, they're feuding at the moment. The feud's going to continue for a little bit as well. It's going to take a bit of a different turn, but yeah. Anyway, the way I see that, Mighty Mo could be a guy to pop up as well. And of course, we have other talented guys like Bulldozer Brennan Smith, of course, Greg Gage. They could all be knocking on the door. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you did enjoy the episode. Tune in next time. Of course, we're going to crown a number 1 contender in the next episode for the World Heavyweight title. And apart from that, guys, drop a like on the video, subscribe as well if you haven't already, hit the bell, the notification bell, and that'll keep you up to date with these episodes in the future. Apart from that, take it easy and goodbye.